Hi, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. We love having a bandsaw, but the original fence on this thing was a real pain to use. We upgraded using Kreg's Precision Bandsaw Fence. I'm going to walk you through what we solved and how we installed it. Stay tuned. Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. We love having this bandsaw. We use it for all sorts of things here. It's an older saw, and I'll tell you what was really lacking was the bandsaw fence. It had these tubular rails that stuck way out. It was finicky, it was hard to adjust, and there was a gap under the fence, and so it was time to upgrade. So we researched and we came across Kreg's Precision Bandsaw Fence. If you buy one of these fences, you can use this video as a step-by-step companion to the installation manual. I'm just going to walk you through and show you how it was done on this saw. Now, the first thing you need to find out is whether or not the saw you have, the Kreg Precision Bandsaw Fence, is compatible with it. Well, you can download or go visit their website and look at this compatibility chart, and it'll show you exactly what needs to be done or if it can be fitted onto your saw at all. I went to craigtool.com and purchased this fence, and when it arrived, it came packaged very nicely. You can see how well it's packaged, and it's labeled very nicely with great graphics. Kind of sets up the expectation of what you're going to enjoy once you get the package open. And also notice that the tool is made in the USA. Now, I live in the US and I like to support our industrial base. And we think that whatever country you're in, if you have the opportunity to support your industrial base, you should do so. For those of you that live here, I think it's pretty cool that Kreg tools are made entirely in the United States, actually in Iowa. So the tool, once you open the box and start looking at it, the parts are very, very nice. Milled very nicely, robust. It's pretty significant and weighty. So this is not a flimsy tool. It's well milled, fit and finish is very nice. The next thing you need to look at once you take the parts out is there is a registration card there. And there's also a newsletter card in case you want to get more information about other products that the company does. That's all provided for you there. Now we need to prepare the machine to install the new fence system. The first thing we need to do is remove the blade. Then we're going to be able to raise the guide here and then slide out the old fence, which, by the way, was one of the irritating things about the way it was set up, is that you could not take the fence off, put it on the outside over here without removing the blade first. That's been solved now. But now after you remove the blade, you remove the old fence, then the next thing you need to do is to remove the guides, which stick out pretty far out here, which I've had one or two kidney punches in here. That's been eliminated as well. So we remove the rails, and now we're ready to start installing the new parts. Once you've stripped off the other rails, you now have bolt holes, threaded bolt holes that you're going to reuse. But to know where they are to help you mark out the new rails, you need to put pencil marks on the top of the table in line with those here. So I marked on the tabletop in the two positions the center line of the bolt hole below it. Once you have that, you're going to use bolts, either the ones that Kreg supplied in the kit or the ones that came off of the machine here. It's your choice. I opted to use the bolts that came with the machine. The heads were a little bit shorter and it allowed more clearance. You choose what fits best for your situation. Once you've got the bolts here, you're going to go ahead and thread the front position in. It is the fixed point that you work against. And now you're going to swing the fence up, or not the fence, the guide up into position to see where it falls in alignment with the second hole. And because you have a top mark, you can see whether or not it's going to thread. In my case, it was slightly misaligned, enough that you could not insert the bolt. So what I need to do is mark the center hole, take the guide here off, and then ream out or file out the hole, elongate it until I could get the second bolt to thread through. You may need to do a little bit of trial and error. If the rail has a misfit, it took me a couple of attempts of filing out the hole, elongating it until I could get this to freely mount on there. Now, the reason you want it not to be in a bind when you tighten it is that you're going to need to set how far the rail is down over the edge, below the plane of the table, a certain height, so that this rail, or excuse me, the whole fence sits at the right place. So to determine that, then set in this case I use a combination square as a little depth gauge so that the front of the rail and the back of the rail were both the same distance down from the plane of the tools table here. I wouldn't drive the bolts in hard at this point. It's likely that when you install the fence and the fence clamp block and all that, that you need to adjust all this to get it all calibrated. You're now ready to go to the second part, and that is to build the clamp block. This is put together using the parts in the part bag. Use the diagram. Everything there is very intuitive. I had that whole thing put together in well under 5 minutes, and now was able to mount it over on the rail and start to install the fence. And at this point now, you need to square the block to the miter gauge slots on the table and the distance to your blade itself. So everything is here ready to go. You've got both bolts that allow you to tweak it left and right so that square along the side here, plus height adjustments to raise and lower the fence itself. All right, now it's time to install the tape indicator that tells you right here what distance or what width of cut you're going to end up with if you run stock against the fence and through the blade here. To do that, the first thing you need to do is raise this section here, the guide a bit, bring this over till it touches the blade. This is all with the power turned off and it not running, of course. You're going to bring it over, and then on the little cursor indicator down here, use the red line that is used later on for precision tuning, and on the end of it, put a mark on the side of the extrusion of the rail, and that allows you to set the 0 point. You're going to put down your tape with the 0 there, running off, counting up as it goes further away. In my case, I got almost 21 inches of the tape used here, and that gives you the first rough set. Once that is pressed in place, starting from one end and removing the backer and moving down to the other end, now you're going to come back and fine tune it. To final calibrate this, then what you're going to do is run some stock against the fence through the running blade, and then measure that precisely and adjust the cursor over here till it gives you that readout. Always use the actual object that was cut to set the gauge to. Now you've got everything calibrated here. This has been set square also, going back along the miter gauges. This has been set this way to know the distance is correct. Now the only other thing that you can do is what I would suggest is their micro adjuster. This is an option, but this is already set up to accept it. Literally, it took me about a minute to install it. So by installing the micro adjuster, let's suppose you're just slightly off. You're, a 64th off and you want to be precise, like cutting some dovetails or on a tilt or that sort of thing. So what happens is you can literally micro move the fence without the old bump thing. You're able to loosen the fence, spin the dial, it'll move it just minutely, lock it back in, and you get very precise measurements and cuts that way. Now, there's one other feature you should know about, and that is there are times when you don't want this tall of a fence. You want to be able to use the low fence. Here you can see you can slide it out of the keepers, the holders on the fence block, reverse the fence, and then put it down as a low fence. Now, that means that the measurement calibration will no longer work in that mode because it was set to the most common vertical fence orientation here. But that gives you some resaw capability or thin strip or anything else that you may need that low fence setting for. We've been very pleased with the results here. Gone are the days of kidney punches, bumping the fence into position, having things go under the fence. This has been a real upgrade and we're really pleased with it. At the time of purchase, it was about $140. We bought ours from craigtool.com, but you can get it from other woodworking suppliers, including Rockler, either online, rockler.com, or one of their retail locations if you're fortunate enough to have one nearby. This tool is readily available, and there's parts and accessories, and Kreg offers a lot of other great tools you should take a look at. Like we said, this has been a great upgrade to this bandsaw, but it's one of many. Check out this episode where we show you 6 other great upgrades for this saw that would also work well on your saw. Check it out. You're gonna like what you see there. Until the next time, this is Dirt Farmer Jay from dirtfarmerjay.com. Really enjoying this saw setup with this new bandsaw fence.